So, welcome to OpenGov TV. Today, we have an awesome panel that we'll be discussing critical event management. Right? Let me show you the diversity of the panelists that we have. We got Sonny George from India, who is the Chief General Manager, Digital Transformation E-commerce, State Bank of India. Asif Ahmed, the Chief Information Security Officer, okay, from Fire and Rescue, New South Wales, yes, Australia. Okay, Dr. Sumitra Nair, the Vice President, Talent Development and Digital Entrepreneurship from MDEC, and Federic Gallant, who is the Vice President for Asia Pacific for Everbridge. That's pretty. I love the fact that we have that diversity because we are touching multiple verticals, and I think that's what the power is. Now, we are talking about critical event management. And you know what's surprising me is we have so many catastrophes in Asia, and and we just overcome them naturally. India has them, Malaysia has them, Australia just had the massive fire. But the world doesn't stop. And for some strange reason, do not get me wrong, we do fix things as human beings, but I don't think we actually take account and slow down and process it and say, can we prevent this stuff from happening over and over again? COVID-19 brought the world to its knees. And that to me is a game changer. So the fact that we're going to be discussing some various points in various parts excites me. But I will start with you, okay, Dr. Nair, if I may. I want to talk about human and talent management. I want to talk about from a cybersecurity landscape. I want to talk from a business continuity landscape. And then Frederick, I'm curious, I want you to see, hey, how do you bring this all together so it starts making sense? It should not be one or the other, because when the pandemics hit, it's changed us of how we operate. Some people are working longer and some people are not working at all. Pretty incredible. So from a human resource and talent management, ma'am, our first question would be, what are your thoughts, okay, on dealing and overcoming these challenges? Because people are affected the most and first, right?
I think, we live in very dynamic times, right? And this is not something which we didn't know, right? We knew this even before COVID. Everybody was talking about fourth IR, Society 5.0. We knew it was coming sooner rather than later. But I guess COVID has helped to speed things up a little bit. There are anecdotes going around on social media about how COVID is the chief transformation officer, in many organizations.
Yes.
So I think it has really forced us to speed things up. And it's unfortunate to some extent, because I think humans from time, from the beginning of time, we've always been somewhat resistant to change. And it takes something like this to sort of break those comfort zones and say, it's time to take that leap. It's now or never. And I think, in the beginning, there was a lot of apprehension, there was a lot of worry and concern, but more and more I'm beginning to hear, let's use this crisis as an opportunity. More and more people are looking at that, okay, I've lost my job, but this now gives me an opportunity to pivot something which, maybe I wasn't enjoying my job anyway. It now gives me this opportunity to rethink. So even here in Malaysia, we're taking that lens to see how can we, so more and more I hear the term, how can we use this crisis? Rather than how can we deal with this crisis, it's how can we use this crisis to move forward? And I think accordingly, at individual level, not just national, but individual level, we need to ask ourselves this question. How can we use this crisis to move to that next step?
No, and spot on. I cannot agree with you more, because the fact that people are looking at this from a glass half full, three-quarters full, and not half empty, I think is how the world has coped with something like this. Asif, I'm going to jump to you, if I may, sir, from a security lens on this. Okay, how are organizations to prevent critical events in the cybersecurity? Because that's where the hacks are, right? We thought that, hey, this is a tough time and the bad actors will not come into play. But the truth is, they are coming into play. They're using this to really come after organizations because they are of belief that everybody is so distracted by this.
Yeah, so Same thing with security. You must have seen that to do something in security or to secure or further or minimize risks, you always have to present an ROI and what are the benefits, and always a big challenge convincing the management in trying to get some security budget. And if there's an event somewhere happening, that really helps and triggers things, and people start thinking in the direction that, because when it's starting to impact the bottom line or availability or continuity, then we get something. And that is the time when the management and everybody gets together and there is a positive thinking and we achieve something. And that's what COVID-19 has done, is actually forced us, I think, into we were all moving forward and trying to digitize and automate process, and government were trying to link their services together to make things efficient. And this really has made that jump, given us the motivation to jump faster and do things in a better way. So same thing is happening in the security field. Now everybody is now getting together so that we can select the best tools, have the best methods and practice in place, try and share all our critical or whatever incident information so that others can be proactive and secure themselves. So there is a lot of positive synergy in this, and it is and the other good thing which COVID has given us is opened the human side of us. We are not all together in it, and we are helping each other. So that's a very big thing which has happened now. Where in other earlier days, I think companies were doing it alone by themselves.
Yes, thank you. You're right. I think the word silo has a different definition because we are all battling the exact same thing and the challenges. And let's face it, we had a lot of business continuity plans in place, but we never had a business continuity plan in place where the entire workforce gets it gets immobilized, right? So you can't get them to work suddenly. So yes, we're digital. So I'm curious, Sonny, from your side, sir, explain to me the business continuity plan that was probably in place pre-COVID, and how were you able to cope with this?
To explain that, Mohit, I'd like to just state that we are one of the largest banks in the world. We have more than 22,500 branches, 250,000 employees, and our customer base is the size of much larger than most of the countries in the world. It's around 450 million. So we had a real problem when this pandemic hit us, because the key challenges were, how do we keep our internal customers, the staff, engaged and keep them productive? And how could we see that our customers get at least a reasonable amount of service as before? Nothing could have prepared us for a disruption on this scale. So the normal business continuity plans obviously did not factor a situation where you had a total lockdown across the country. And we had to do a lot of replanning. There were micro level challenges at some areas. You had a total lockdown, you had containment zones, branches within those. So we had these sort of challenges to face. One of the things that we did is we set up a quick response team, so that any area where there is a problem, how do we deal with the situation there? So that is one of the things we did. And we are to some extent one of the is a government bank. There is a perception that we are a legacy bank, and for us, we have never, our workers or our employees have never worked on BPN from home. We didn't have a work from home policy earlier. We had to do all that in the shortest possible time, and these were some of the challenges we faced, and we have successfully overcome, in the sense that today our business levels are better than what they were before the COVID situation hit us. And that is another story, because we were able to move most of the customers to a digital platform.
Fantastic. I mean, that's a really, really reassuring thing to learn, that to overcome a challenge and to do it in the shortest space of time. And exactly what Dr. Nair said, right? If you got to take the opportunity in the crisis and make that into a positive. Frederick, your reflection on what you've just heard from our three panelists.
Hmm. Yes, I heard a lot of positive things here. Um, I tend sometimes to be a little bit more cynical. So we are doing critical event management softwares. So basically, crisis is our job, and this is how we make a living. And we're trying to do it for good, to get some people to save some lives with our software, or more pragmatically to avoid IT outages and major disruption. So, with COVID-19, this is right in the heart of our business. And we've seen some very different behaviors. So first of all, nobody was prepared. And we were asking ourselves, why is it so hard? Because actually crises and problems like that, they happen all the time. Earthquakes, typhoons, epidemics, and all kind of disasters, terror attacks. There is not 1 month where you watch the news. You've got some of them every day. But they don't hit us personally as individual very often. Actually, they touch us very, very seldom. So unless you are in a very specific job, you're a special force in an army, and you have to deal with life-threatening situations as your job, most of us are not prepared for that. And even though those who are working in business continuity, you're prepared for that, but it's like insurance. It's useless until really the problem occurs and you really need it. And there is a psychological aspect to it. Crisis, people don't like crisis, and they want to forget them, and they want to see them. And you see it even at some government levels. In some countries, some are still in complete denial. Some are looking at the hard facts in the eyes and taking the proper measures, but some do not want to see it. They're denying it still now. Now, companies, it's the same. We've seen an uptick in our business in Q1 because some companies did not hesitate to look at the hard facts in the eyes and said, we need to have a critical event management software. And they had the courage to look at their situation and say, we are not ready. We think we are, but our BCP plans have not been updated since 2007. And they're on binders with 1 centimeter of dust on it, and we haven't opened them since then. We need to do something. There is a crisis. And some of the ones didn't realize that and went into the crisis without anything ready. And then when we were talking to them, the answer is, we understand that you're providing critical event management solutions, but sorry, we're busy at the moment handling a critical event, which is a little bit ironic. So, it's in an ideal world, everybody is aware that bad things are going to happen. Everybody accepts that one day they will have to deal with it. It's not if, it's when. And everybody has the courage to say, like, I'm purchasing an insurance, like I'm getting ready for bad days. I'm going to look at it in the eye and get myself ready with technology, not only with plans, but also with the technology which is going to map these plans in order to respond adequately and efficiently when the crisis hits. And I wish everybody was like that, but human nature, you don't want to, to think about buying a plot of land for to be buried. You don't like to deal with buying a life insurance. You don't like to deal with a legacy planning. No, everybody wants to live in a good and nice situation, but unfortunately, this is not how life is.
True, and almost 7.5 billion people. Yes, people do think differently, and there is a level of some people say, "Hey, I'm in crisis mode. I can't be planning for another crisis. Let me get out of this crisis." And then you got people like Sonny who are saying, okay, and Dr. Nahar saying, no. We're going to use this and we're going to pivot. And this is the right time to do everything in place and push what I call the legacy complacency that are in governments as well as in businesses. So yes, I totally see where this is coming from.